Well, that brazen, cold-blooded assassination of North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un's half-brother, Kim Jong-nam, is now fueling for a push to put North Korea back on the terrorism list. You know, the reported use of a highly deadly chemical agent, the nerve gas VX, in the attack that you see right there, allegedly by those two young girls, are bringing to attention the threat of the Hermit Kingdom that continues to pose that threat to the international community. And Pyongyang, uncharacteristically, lashing out at its longtime sponsor and ally, China, which some say is a troubling new development. Joining us now is Lieutenant Colonel Mitch Utterback, retired Special Forces officer for the U.S. Army. Lieutenant Colonel, China now a target of Pyongyang. You know, they're beginning to bite the hand of their longtime protector. Does that make North Korea perhaps even more unpredictable?
It does, Eric, and it also shows the growing disrespect that they have for China, really their only ally in the world, their trading partner for coal and cash. So it does show, it's very uncharacteristic, if you can use that word to describe North Korea, that they're publicly insulting China through their state media. Troubling, troubling.
And Kim Jong-un, I mean the regime, according to reports, they've assassinated some of its supporters. They've used anti-aircraft guns. They've used flamethrowers. And now this alleged VX assassination. Tell us a little about VX, what it is, and VX-2, which are what, two different components that are used by the military that one put together, such as what apparently happened here, causes the deadly effect.
Well, Eric, like anybody who's been paying attention to this knows, VX is the most deadly nerve agent out there. In the military, we start training in basic training. Every service member starts training in basic training to defend against it. Less than a drop. A drop can kill an entire family. So VX, it's kind of like an oily substance. It can be delivered through multiple means, kills you in minutes. Now, the VX2 is a binary agent, literally two compounds that won't kill you separately, but when mixed together create VX2 and will kill you. And I'm paying close attention to the investigation in the airport to see if these women each had a separate binary agent and then rubbed it on his face, causing the chemical reaction that eventually killed him.
Yeah, it would seem to explain it exactly. Each one had one. They put it together on his face. Separately, they don't die, or the one reportedly got sick, started throwing up, and that sort of thing. This assassination, do you think it is enough to put North Korea back on the state sponsor of terrorism list? It was taken off in 2008 by President George W. Bush, I mean, with the hopes that the regime would change.
Yeah, Eric, taking them off the list then is like trying to rationalize with a drunk person. They've launched dozens of ballistic missiles since 2008, conducted a cyber attack against Sony Pictures for a perceived insult to their leader, and then this potentially VX2 assassination attempt. Hey, they sent agents to another country, trained for it, rehearsed for it, and then conducted literally an assassination. If that's not international terrorism, well, it's time to re-examine that definition. And also, one quick thing about the female that got sick, Eric. She could have been having a reaction to atropine, the antidote to VX, which she could have self-administered before the attack or right after. One of the side effects of atropine is nausea and vomiting.
Well, it sounds like, you know, one of those Dr. No, you know, international James Bond, you know, unbelievable mysteries, and probably that's what they want. They wanted to scare the bejesus out of the Western countries by trying to have this type of targeted assassination in a public place.
Hey, there's multiple layers to this. Kim is telling anybody within his own country, I am willing to kill family members to stay in power. He's threatening South Korea that his WMD closet is much bigger than they realize. And on the international stage, he's showing that I have multiple means to attack you and fight back if you decide to attack me and my regime.
And they apparently, if this is what happened, got the VX from North Korea down into the airport at Kuala Lumpur. Is it possible, Lieutenant Colonel, that the North Koreans could actually get VX here to the United States? And this potentially would be how? You know, diplomatic pouches. They can't be searched. The North Koreans have an office here on 2nd Avenue. I've been there. They have an ambassador to the United Nations. Is it possible or even plausible that, you know, we've had foreign assassinations, Orlando Letelier back in 1976, car bomb in Washington, D.C., the Iranians in a plot against the Saudi Arabian ambassador. Is it possible that they would be using diplomatic pouches to send little vials of VX around the globe, and that we could potentially have a targeted North Korean attack in our country?
Sadly, yes, Eric, and it's much easier than that. And I know that they plan. We cannot defend against somebody traveling to a third country and then mailing binary agents through the mail, and then having your agent in this country receive it and then mix it. So it's much worse than diplomatic pouches. It's just regular international air freight, separate binary agents that are mixed by agents in this country. And that's one of the worst case scenarios that we have, we will be prepared and have to be prepared for.
Does that stuff get checked? I mean, that's really possible?
No. Many types of illicit substances or even drugs are sent through the open mail. So, yeah, a lot of stuff comes into our country, and unless, and I hope we would be, doing some kind of spectral analysis for VX binary components as it comes into the U.S., it's definitely a scary possibility.
Well, it's certainly something that we will follow up, and we should certainly keep an eye on in terms of some of the terrorist threats that we have in our nation. Lieutenant Colonel Mitch Utterback, good to see you, and thank you, despite your chilling analysis this afternoon.
Worst case scenarios, Eric. Thanks.
Yeah, we got to think of them and be protected against them. Now, some more on the chemical that the Malaysian authorities said was used in that deadly attack, the VX nerve gas agent. It was originally developed in the early 1950s during research into pesticides. It is a banned chemical weapon that is known as the most toxic nerve agent in the globe. It is tasteless, it is odorless, it affects your nervous system when it's placed on your skin. The chemical causes paralysis and suffocation. Just 10 milligrams, a tiny amount, is enough to kill a person. And as we saw with Kim Jong-nam, he died about 15 minutes or so, walked over to some officials at the airport, went into the ambulance, and then was declared dead.